This is the best Tiki Taka FM23 tactic that averaged 66% possession and over 23,000 passes. So, team number one is going to be Ajax, obviously over in the Dutch league, where we won the league quite comfortably with 31 wins, just the one draw and just the 2 losses. And it was also the season of clearly becoming runners-up, as we were runners-up in the Becker and also the Europa League, which we actually lost in against Liverpool 4-3 in extra time. So, a little bit unlucky in that element, in my opinion, but obviously Liverpool are a top team. Over to the stats into this competition, we are going to see having the most possession actually at 67%, which is absolutely incredible. We do like to be seeing that. Most points per game at 2.76, most goals at 122, most shots for at 796, also faced the fewest shots against us at 190 with a staggering 91% pass completion and most possession coming in at 67%. So them 2 stats we're looking for today, the possession and the pass completion, we've absolutely blew out the park with, and that is absolutely incredible. In terms of the passes, we rank 3rd overall in the league, actually averaging 23,726 across the entire season. Over to Barcelona now, where we actually did win the double, that being the Spanish League and also the Supercopa, which obviously is a decent trophy to be winning, and also runners-up in the Champions League. Now, we did actually lose to the team which we were testing with as well, so it's a little bit of an iffy one with that. Technically, we could have won the treble here quite easily. But in terms of the league, we're obviously going to play 38 games. We won 31 of those, drew 4 and only lost to 3. Robert Lewandowski coming in with 30 league goals. He's still got it at the age of, 37? I believe he is, so that's good to see. And it is going to be Pedri picking up the most assists for Barcelona in the season. To be expected. In terms of the stats, though, we're going to have 2.55, most points per game, obviously ranking 1. To be expected, we did win the league. Most goals at 112, most shots for at 756, best pass completion coming in at 91%, alongside of Atletico and Real Madrid, to be fair, and Sociedad with 90%, so quite a tough division when it comes to dominating the ball, and we've made it look quite easy, to be honest, as we also have 65% possession, which is a 4% increase over Real Sociedad, who finish in 2nd place with that stat. Still a good display from them. This is the big one. Most passes completed, 26,056, nearly 1,000 more than 2nd place. It just shows how good this Tiki Taka tactic actually performs in a very possession-based league. Up next, and it is going to be a treble-winning season with Bayern Munich over in Germany, where we played 34 games, we won 28, we drew 4, and also lost just 2 games. We also won the Pokal here, as you can see. We'll click on that, hopefully, and it's going to be a 4-0 win over Frankfurt. You can see here, to be fair, we didn't actually score that many goals in terms of one player standing out. And to be honest with you, it's to be expected. I mean, it is more of a possession-based tactic. It's not the most out-there attack-and-based tactic, so you're not going to go out and score 5 goals a game with this, but you are going to dominate the games and play that lovely short pass and football. And obviously, we also won the Super Cup, which is going to be just the one game, obviously, in a 4-1 win over Leipzig, where it is going to be Leroy Sané coming in with 3 goals, which must have been in that match, so he had a very, very good season. But let's go over and look at the stats. You can see here it's pretty much all Bayern Munich, 2.59 points per game, most goals at 113, the most shots for at 720, the fewest shots faced at 198, but these are the real standout ones, 91% pass completion and 66%, 11% more than 2nd place Wolfsburg, and also picking up the fewest conceded and the most clean sheets, which is really good to see. And in terms of the total passes completed, it is going to be 23,496. Now, this division, in my opinion, is a counter-attacking division. That's what I class the Bundesliga as. Not really known for much of a possession-based style, apart from Xabi Alonso in real life now, but this is why it is so dominant. And lastly, it's going to be a quadruple winning season with England giants Manchester City, as we win the Premier League, winning... Now, why is that so small? Probably because there's so many competitions on there. But 29 wins out of the games we played. Erling Haaland, again, picking up 29 league goals. Like I said, you're not going to pick up tons and tons of goals of this, but you are going to dominate your games, and that's the whole point of this tactic. Unfortunately, got knocked out in the semi-finals in the FA Cup against Arsenal. Not a nice one to see. And also the runners-up here in the Community Shield, which is going to be against... Arsenal. Again, they've done the double over us. We don't like to see that. But where it mattered, the big trophy, the Champions League here, in a 4-3 win over Barcelona. Obviously, the other team we're testing with, so going head-to-head against the best, really. Also winning the Carabao Cup in a 5-2 win over Leicester. Quite an easy final there. And also the Super Cup is going to be a 5-2 win over Sevilla, which can be a bit of a tricky team. But let's go over and look at them stats. So kicking things off, we're going to have 2.42 points per game, most goals at 91, which isn't the highest compared to some of the tactics I've made, but as I said, definitely more possession orientated. Most shots for at 760, fewer shots coming in at 232, best pass completion at 90%, most possession coming in at 64, and also picking up the most clean sheets and the fewest conceded. Completing nearly 25,000 passes, we finish in first place, coming in at an exact 24,857 completed passes, which is quite a comfortable first place finish. I'm now going to break down the tactic, guys. I want to say this is now the perfect time to leave a like on the video, and also do consider subscribing. It helps the algorithm out, and it means the absolute world to me. This is probably the last tactic we're going to have this year as well, but it has been one hell of a year. Obviously, we're going to improve next year. Not only have we got tactics on this channel, we've also got a second channel now covering mobile and console tactics, and I'm going to be back live streaming on Twitch starting the 18th of October, that being next Wednesday at 5 PM GMT is going to be the return stream, so definitely check it out. But let's go ahead and talk about this tactic. So we are going to kick things off then with the player instructions, and as you can see, it might remind you a little bit of sort of a Pep Guardiola theme, and that's pretty much what I based it off, to be honest with you, with a few tweaks here and there. So we are going to start things off with the sweeper keeper, who is simply going to be on support and pass it shorter. You're going to see this instruction used quite a lot in this tactic because we are trying to simply dominate possession. The wing back on the right is going to be on support, on take fewer risks, and also stay wider. This is another instruction you might see quite commonly used in this system because essentially I don't want the players to take risks with their passing. I'd rather them make complete passes because that is going to give us a much more shorter passing themed style of play. Going over to the centre backs, we have a ball playing defender on the right who is going to be on defend, and exactly the same comes in on the left. When it comes to the wing back on the left, however, it's going to be exactly the same as well. As the right back, it's going to be a wing back on support, on take fewer risks, and stay wider. And when you see the highlights later on in the video, don't worry, I did listen to you guys. I'm now going to separate the video into different segments for you, so there's no interruption through this part. We are going to see how important these wing backs actually are in linking up the entire team. Going over to the midfield, we're going to have a DM on support, on pass it shorter, take fewer risks, tackle harder, and also mark tighter. Next to him, or just a little bit up the field, a Roman playmaker is going to come in on support, on pass it shorter, and simply move into channels. And to finish off the midfield three, that is going to be a Metzala on attack, simply on pass it shorter. So that pass it shorter instruction is going to be used a lot throughout this team, and that is to pass the ball shorter. Nice and simple. On the left-hand side, we're going to have an inside forward on attack, on pass it shorter, run from position, and also sit narrower. And on the right-hand side, the same instructions, but a different role is going to be coming in. He is going to be an inverted winger on attack. And to finish it off, I tried a false nine, sorry. I tried a complete forward, but the best sort of player to get playing in this team, linking up the play, is going to be a deep line forward on support, on, you guessed it, pass it shorter. And that is going to give you the player instructions. But of course, let's go over now and break down the team instructions. Do want to quickly say, if you want to download all three of the variants that are going to be on display today, you can do so by joining the Patreon. Patreon is a great way to show some love, to the channel and also support me as a creator. But also you get over 6 to 7 perks, guys. There is a lot of stuff going on. You obviously get all the files, you get early video and tactic release, you get priority in the rebuild and tactic requests, you get one-on-one tactical help. You're also going to get exclusive downloads to the mobile and the console tactics, giveaways, and much more. I try and give back as much for those that do wish to support it, so you can do so by clicking the link in the description below. But let's go over to the team instructions. So as you can imagine, it is going to be based off a Tiki Taka style on the positive mentality, and we're simply going to have fairly narrow play out of defence, because obviously this is a great way to maintain the ball playing out from the back, relatively risk-free as well in a 4-3-3. Much shorter on the passing directness, a slightly lower tempo, dribble less, and work ball into the box. Alongside of this, I actually opted for low crosses. I usually go for mixed, but in this sort of slow build-up style, low crosses worked really, really well. And obviously, if you are struggling to score in this system, I will say, because this is not made to score the most goals ever, you can simply untick work ball into the box, and you are going to naturally see your players having shots a little bit more stress-free. Haven't got to be inside the box, they're going to have shots on the edge, for example, but this is the best instruction if you are adamant on playing this possession-based based football. Next up is going to be in transition, where we are going to have the counter press and distribute quickly as the main ones at the top. The counter press is because it is meta simply. It works very well in Football Manager. I've not selected anything when possession has been won, because I don't want to hold the shape so everyone's sort of restricted, but also I don't want to counter attack because it's a bit too direct for the style of play we're trying to replicate inside of this tactic. In terms of the area we're going to distribute to, that is going to be the fullbacks and the centre backs, and to do this we're going to take short goal kicks. In terms of out of possession, I've gone with the bog standard line and the high press and line of engagement with a more often approach on the trigger press. That is going to give you guys the default variant, but do stick around because we are going to go over the attacking and defensive variant as well for you guys. But let's have a little look how this plays actually in a game. I think today it's going to be quite cool to actually watch the goals in a 2D fashion because we can sort of get a better idea of how the players actually look on a sort of map perspective. Now, what I want you to pay attention to here is Cancelo, because when De Jong wins the ball back, he plays it into Rafinha. And the great thing about the wing-backs in this team is that they do overlap, but also they have the intelligence to come back and pick up the ball. So you can see Cancelo here is actually thinking, do you know what? I'm going to overlap and sort of make a great run. And it would be a great run as well. But what happens here is Rafinha is a little bit restricted. So Cancelo drops back, picks up the ball, and then drifts inside with it, meaning we've pretty much gained another midfield player. And he runs inside and plays it back to Rafinha, who's obviously in tons of space, and he goes alone and puts it in to the bottom left-hand corner. So just the importance of these wing-backs in the team is absolutely massive. It really is, as we are going to see Rafinha now running the show, to be honest with you, completely taking on the entire back line. He's going to cut it back, and again, tons of options in the middle, something which I'm very fond of having in these tactics. And it is going to come to actually Gavi, who drives it inside, plays it across to Pedri, and obviously tucks it away. So two simple passes there creates an absolutely wonderful goal. It can be that simple, guys. It really can. And you can see the position of the team as well. It's quite consistent, so there's always going to be a passing option on. De Jong here's got several options. He can play the ball here into Lewandowski. He can play it into number 6. Also got some quite easy options here. And also, if he wants to take the more challenging option, he can play it over the top into this number 11, which he actually goes the opposite side with a pass I didn't even see, which is going to be to Rafinha, who's going to be alone, and he's going to cut it back potentially, or go alone himself. He's going to square it to Lewandowski, and again, a simple bit of play, and that was a pass I didn't even see, so that shows how many passes actually are going to be on. And the last goal of this game is going to be De Jong into Gavi, into Pedri, and it's a bit of a scrappy one. It's a bit of a scrappy one, that goal, but just showing you in that 2D perspective gives you a rough idea. And the midfielders can score as well, guys. This is going to be the Pokal final in a 4-0 win. Obviously, we were playing as Bayern against Frankfurt, and Leon Goretzka here actually got a hat-trick in this game. And the midfielders can crop up and get goals as well, and that is something which I also am a really big fan of. As you can see, Guerreiro here, he's known for it at the end of the day. I wasn't even aware that transfer happened, so good signing for Bayern there. You can see some of the pass and play here. This is absolutely beautiful. All the way from the back, all the way forward, into Goretzka again, who chips it over the goalkeeper, almost playing like a Lewandowski in this team at some points. He's in really good positions to get goals, and you can tell here, I mean, picking up a hat-trick in a Pokal final, something you don't see very often, especially from a midfield player, as Goretzka just drives through the entire line from great work from Sane, and that is going to be a very comfortable win. Of course, as promised, we are now going to go over the attacking variant and the defensive variant, starting things off with the attacking variant itself. So when I made this, I tried to keep them the same formation because that is pretty much how the tactic is going to be displayed, and therefore there aren't going to be too many changes. The first change is going to be the deep line forward coming in, who is now going to be, instead of support, he is going to be on attack. The midfield is really the only change. We actually have a register come in instead of the DM, who's going to be on support, on pass it shorter, tackle harder, and also mark tighter. An advanced playmaker comes in instead of the Roman playmaker, who is going to be on support, on pass it shorter, and the Metzala remains exactly the same. So a lot of changes are done in the team instructions, which we are now going to cover, but in terms of the player roles, I didn't want to change too much because I like to keep it the same formation, because therefore, if I start playing as a narrow system, then I could have made 2 videos out of it, basically, to be honest with you guys. So it is going to still be the 4-3-3, just a little bit more attacking, especially in the midfield. But going over to them team instructions, in possession, by the way, the mentality is now going to switch to an attacker mentality. The only change in this is going to be the slightly higher tempo, because we are going to play with a bit more of an aggressive style, really get in their face. We're going to overlap left and overlap right, really getting them wing backs involved. And also, we are going to have be more expressive on. Still going to have dribble less on though, because we don't want to take that off, because then players are going to be a lot more sort of trying to take players on, which we don't really want. We still want to have a short passing style, but be more expressive just makes the team be more expressive. Literally says what it does on the tin. But nice simple changes that make all the difference. In transition, it is going to be pretty much exactly the same. The one change is going to be distribute quickly, so nice and simple over there. And out of possession, we've gone brave, we've gone bold, we're going to have the higher defensive line. Pretty much the one key change that you should be making if you are struggling in the game you're playing, you're desperate for a goal, the higher line is going to be pretty much your best friend. It's going to push the entire team up. Obviously, does make you a little bit more vulnerable at the back, but if you are chasing the game and you need a goal, you have to take risks, and this is going to do that. Over to the defensive variant, there are going to be a few more changes, and the first one is going to be starting off with the inside forward, who is going to be on the left, and pretty much what changes here is they are both going to go, the left and the right, are now going to drop to a supportive role. So not as attacking by any means of the imagination. The deep line forward remains exactly the same as what the default variant was, but pretty much with these players, they are going to be on the same instructions, but just a little bit deeper now, because it's easier to link up these now to the midfield. They're not going to be as pushed up, and to be honest, we're going to dominate possession even better. Be quite interesting to see if I would have simulated a whole season playing this way. Obviously, when I make these variants, I sort of play between 10 and 15 games, or simulate them, just to sort of see how it impacts it, how it sort of, you know, does it concede less? In this scenario, it conceded a lot less goals playing like this, but obviously didn't score as many, because this is pretty much the tactic you're going to push out if you're trying to defend a game, seal a game out. In the midfield, we're going to have a central midfield player on support. You've seen this in a lot of my tactics. This is going to be a very low-risk player to have in the team, a player that's going to pick up the ball and simply ping at left, ping at right, no mistakes, nice and basic. Therefore, he's going to be on pass at shorter, take fewer risks, dribble less, shoot less often, and also move into channels. And next to him, you'll have a Carrillo come in on support, on pass at shorter, take fewer risks, and also shoot less often. And in the midfield, that DM is now going to come back into the team, but he's going to be on the defensive duty, and he's going to be on pass at shorter, take fewer risks, tackle harder, and also mark tighter. So a very low risk midfield, which obviously is to be expected in a system where we are trying to run the clock down. The wing-back on the right is going to remain the same, exactly the same on the left, and exactly the same for the ball-playing defenders and the goalkeeper. But let's go over to the team instructions now, where we are going to see a bit of a change. Just to say quickly, this is now going to drop to a balanced mentality. See here in possession, the real big change is going to be that tempo now set all the way to lower. Obviously, we're not going to have overlap and fullbacks either compared to that attacking variant. And now the creative freedom, instead of being more expressive, we are now going to be disciplined. So this means there's no real urgency to attack. We're simply going to pass the ball practically side to side, dominate possession. And if the opportunity arises where they're high pressing, they're out of position, we then can go and attack. But for now, we're simply trying to maintain the ball and pretty much frustrate the opposition. In transition, very, very basic, to be honest with you boys. We're not going to slow the pace down, because it's not really a time-wasting tactic. In that sense, it's not really a negative tactic. A 4-3-3 is quite a positive-looking formation. So we're not going to adamantly do that. We're not going to go out and specifically tell the goalkeeper to waste time, because naturally playing out from the back and passing it side to side is going to run the clock down anyway. So the only instructions you want is counter press, distribute to anybody across the back line, and take short goal kicks. Out of possession, nice and basic, the standard line, the high presser line of engagement, and also more often. And that is going to give you boys 3 variants of the best Tiki Taka tactic I have personally made in FM23, a defensive variant, an attacking variant, and obviously also the normal variant, which majority of the saves is going to be simulated on and tested with. If you boys do want to download all 3, obviously you can do so by checking out that Patreon. And the only reason I mention that as well is because I've had people subscribe to that aren't even interested in Football Manager, because I do a giveaway, which can be FIFA. I might even give away a copy of COD. I'm not entirely sure. I'm always looking for cool stuff to give away. You can check that out in the description below. And if you guys have enjoyed today's video, please do leave a like. Also, leave a comment. Are you excited for FM24? Because I know I am. We've got tons of content coming out. The diary is looking absolutely packed. Tons of tactics coming your way. But enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.